Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The movie begins with a TV scene advertising a new vaccine aimed at preventing the spread of the zombie virus. The camera moves, and we discover that zombies have taken over the city. In the midst of this crowd, our hero, Chase, tries to free himself from the hordes of zombies around him. He enters a narrow alley and quickly closes an iron gate behind him. He manages to escape from them temporarily, but two zombies appear behind him, one a clown and the other a policeman. Chase does not give up and hits the policeman with a trash can. The zombie pulls out his gun and tries to hit him, but his aim fails him. In a moment of courage, Chase throws a metal fan blade at Shorty, which enters his brain, but he still hits him against the wall and continues. In the end, Chase takes his gun and finishes him off, but the zombie clown is still there and tries to make Chase fall to the ground and bites him. The gate that Chase closed falls, and the rest of the zombies behind it are freed after that. 3 days before these events, we see the beginning of the zombie virus outbreak in a city called Itmichi. The authorities create a quarantine zone and begin evacuating residents. Jess, a reporter, comes to the city with his colleague, photographer Jordan, to cover the escalating events and make a living. Cheese begins covering the situation quickly, complaining that there are no buses or supplies at the evacuation center that the authorities gave him, which increases the chaos and fear. The city is a community of survivors of previous outbreaks of the virus, and they depend on the zombie vaccine to remain human and not transform. In the middle of the coverage, Chase finds a girl named Crystal standing by the fence. Crystal's beauty attracts Chase's attention, and they decide to interview her in the hope that she will achieve widespread coverage. But Crystal is not interested in Chase. Because she is part of his report, Jess is forced to take risks and film inside the tents without anyone noticing him because filming is prohibited. However, Jordan does not go with him and films the events outside. And suddenly, we see someone lying on the ground, and he has a convulsion, and suddenly he starts turning into a zombie. At the same time, inside the tent, a doctor is injecting a vaccine into an infected person, but suddenly he turns into a zombie as well, and vomits blood and gets on Chase's shirt. Here, things get out of control and more patients turn into zombies. Things are getting worse outside as well, and the zombies are increasing. Jordan runs from the evacuation center and tries to reach Chase. She gets into the car and hugs Chase, but a zombie appears to her. She gets scared and runs away and drives off. At the moment, Chase takes out his popcorn and screams to Jordan, but she is blown away by the wind. During this, he sees Crystal fighting off a zombie and goes to help her. Crystal notices a car parked in the street, and next to it is a mother who is sad about her little daughter, whom she had to kill because she turned into a zombie. The mother is still in shock, and Crystal quickly asks her for the car keys, and Chase reaches them. Behind him, a horde of zombies manage to wake the mother from her shock, and they all quickly get into the car. Chase asks the mother if her daughter was taking the zombie vaccine. She replies that she was taking it regularly every day, which confirms Chase's theory that the vaccine that prevented the infected from turning into zombies is no longer working. He calls the news anchor in the studio and gives her his breaking news in exchange for her hosting him live and mentioning the site he works at. She agrees and does an interview with Chase live. After that, the zombies hit the car window, which makes the mother hit a pole. Crystal quickly gets out of the car and enters a nearby pawn shop. Zombie gathers around the car, and at that moment there is a fire. At that moment, Chase gets the mother out of the car and knocks on the door of the pawn shop for Crystal to open. After a while, she hesitates and Rab agrees and opens it. At that moment, Jordan reaches the city limits, and the authorities have set up a checkpoint and a separation wall, and her luck is good. She enters at the last moment, and the door is closing, and information comes that the virus is transmitted through the air. We see Gila running towards the gate and asking to enter because the zombies are being expelled, and the soldiers warn them to stay away or they will shoot them. But the family is desperate and screams to enter, and the shocking thing is that the soldiers kill them without mercy. But Jordan are in a state of shock while seeing what is happening, and she moves because her phone is ringing, and it is Chase who is calling her, and he is upset with her. People are standing behind her, but she responds, are standing behind her. But she responds that she did not see him, and she was running away from the zombies, and she is very sad, and they know that the army is shooting people at the city borders at this time. The announcer broadcasts an announcement for the government that there is a new strain of the virus in the city that is not affected by the vaccine. They also say that the virus has become transmitted through the air. After that, the announcer switches the broadcast to Chase, who denies the cover-up story that the government is trying to promote and says that the virus is not transmitted through the air, and the army is killing people on the border. Then Chase and the others decide to spend the night in the pawn shop, because the border does not allow anyone to enter. He asks the mother if he can do an interview with her. So she tells him how her daughter was bitten by the zombies and her husband could not bear it. So he left because of the grief, and the mother still has not accepted that her daughter died, thinking that they will be able to save her. We return to Jordan, who takes the quarantine tent, and they do a test on her to make sure that she is not infected. This doctor is the head of the company that produces the zombie vaccine and is responsible for containing the outbreak. Late at night, Chase wakes up to the sound of a siren and sees Crystal giving herself an injection of the zombie vaccine in her arm, which reveals that she was infected the whole time. But the strange thing is that the vaccine works on her, and she does not transform. Chase is surprised and goes into the bathroom and calls Jordan and learns that Crystal is using a vaccine, and it brings results and almost brings him from a different place the next morning. The doctor explains that Jordan is free of any enemies, and she tells him about Crystal and asks him to save her and Chase so they can run tests on her blood and the vaccine she has. But the doctor himself isn't sure why the vaccine suddenly stopped working, but he doesn't have the resources to bring Chase and Crystal. Then the army arrives, and the Jinn hold a press conference and announce that they will start bombing the country with fire within 2 days. Chase finally confronts Crystal about her health condition, and she admits that she is not taking the vaccine from clinics but from a trusted dealer. But unfortunately, she only has 1 dose. If she runs out, she will turn into a zombie. They see the general's announcement and know that the army will blow up the city soon. At this moment, a group of thugs enter the pawn shop to rob it, and Chase and the others hide. But Crystal points her gun at the leader and asks him to leave. He interrupts the conversation and goes out. They go out to the street, upset, and a man and his wife call for help from them, but he asks for money in return, and the man is not with him in the shop. Chase tries to convince Crystal to look at the camera so that the world knows that there are vaccines working and they don't blow up the city, but she is hesitant. She goes out to the street with the mother, and Chase is able to do so. Chase calls Jordan and asks her to look for a zombie vaccine for him. Outside, Crystal and the mother encounter a group of zombies, and Chase comes out of the shop holding an electric charger and starts hitting the zombies so that Crystal and the mother can escape, but the zombies increase and attack them. He runs and enters a school bus, but he finds other zombies inside. He climbs on top of the car and runs to an alley. There, he closes the gate behind him to prevent the zombies from entering. He confronts the policeman, and then the zombie clown pins him to the ground. Fortunately, Crystal and the mother save him by running over the clown with their car, and they cut off. She and Jordan ask the doctor for some vaccine doses, but he refuses to help her. But when she returns to her car, she finds a piece of paper stuck with the address of the vaccine warehouse. She leaves the address and calls Chase. They get to know the place a little bit and arrive. They enter the warehouse and find mountains of boxes. They also find a zombie guard tied to the ground and some vaccines, but they are from the same batch that was distributed to the patients in the evacuation center, meaning Crystal won't be able to use them. But Chase changes the plan, and they decide that he must inform the world of the conspiracy to prevent the city from being blown up. During this, the mother hears voices in the corridor and finds a broken teddy bear on the ground. She finds the sound coming from it and sees a little zombie girl inside. The mother thinks that this is her daughter and lets the child hug her. But suddenly the girl throws her and another zombie comes to eat her body. We return to Crystal, who agrees to take a picture with Chase. When she comes, she turns into a zombie and cures herself with the government vaccine. She got a gun, but it didn't work like Chase said. Then she gives herself the last shot of her vaccine, which works all the time. This means that the government vaccine is the one is fake. At this time, the zombies see it, and the eggs start to escape and enter a room and lock themselves in. Since they are locked up and there is nothing behind them, Crystal finally tells Chase her life story. She learned her lesson 5 years ago and was using the vaccine to stay human, but people abandoned her because of the infection. She was fired from her job, her fiancé left her. Because of her broken heart from how people treated her, she disappeared and didn't allow herself to get close to anyone. During this, Chase uploaded the video, which quickly went viral, and he contacted Jordan, who told him that the video revealed the conspiracy behind the zombie outbreak. She encourages him to continue and tells her to talk to the agency so they can save him. At this time, the group of thugs who we saw at first arrive at the warehouse, and it was revealed that they were using the warehouse as their headquarters. They were using the rooms that the mother entered to lock up the zombies. Discovers Chase and Crystal and beats Chase and takes Crystal with him. On the other hand, Gordon goes to the general and asks him to stop the bombing. He tells her that he wants to save Crystal and Chase, but unfortunately the decision is not in his hands. Then the general holds a joint press conference with the doctor, but suddenly the journalists confront them and Bill. They blame the doctor for failing to contain the outbreak, but the doctor denies all of this and says that the warehouses are the general's responsibility. At this time, the thugs tie Chase to the steering wheel of a crane and let the zombies attack him. A zombie with a knife stuck in his back approaches Chase, and Chase uses this knife to cut the ropes and free the zombies. Annie hits a nearby gas tank, which causes an explosion that kills the thug who was guarding Chase. After that, the scandal that happened and the public pressure make the government allow the army to take over the responsibility of containing the virus. The general tells Jordan that they have started the evacuation operations again and that he sent a rescue team to the medicine warehouse, but Chase is not there. There are only zombies. Then Chase calls Jordan, who is in a state of shock because the general is now dead. She gradually says that the general lied to her and that he did not send anyone at all. She asks him to move to the gate and not tell them his real name. At this time, the leader locks Crystal in his office and writes that he entered the city specifically after the pictures were taken to take advantage of the chaos caused by the outbreak. Crystal tries to attack him, but she is defeated. Then she bites him, and Buria happily bites a zombie. The leader realizes that this will cause him injury and is shocked. During this, Crystal runs away and meets Chase, but Zane catches up, but they are able to overcome him. The mother, who has turned into a zombie, attacks. At the checkpoint, the general announces that the army is in charge now and the vet is going to make electronic chips for the infected that will keep them immune for a year, meaning they don't have to take the vaccine every day. Jordan feels that something doesn't make sense and goes to the doctor, who is of course upset and tells her that these chips will allow the army to track the location of every infected person in the country. Jordan reviews the photos she took of the military vehicles that entered the checkpoint the day before and sees the box that has the electronic chips, which means that the army had the chips with them before they arrived, meaning they are the ones who caused all this destruction. The doctor is also helping and is looking into the shipping policy for the warehouse vaccines that Chase took pictures of and writes that the shipment came from the general's base, which means that the general is deliberately sending the fake vaccine to the city so that an outbreak occurs and the army appears as a hero and takes control. The doctor was revealing everything, but the soldiers came and killed him. Jordan is hiding and filming everything and sending it to Chase and telling him to follow the shipping policy. After that, she hides the cell phone in the newspaper machine and the soldiers arrest her. At that time, Ashes and Crystal reach the quarantine wall on a motorcycle, but the leader appears with him. A zombie appears with Chase and Crystal. They start hiding, and the soldiers open fire on the leader and his crowd. However, the leader has great power and grabs Crystal by the neck and hits Chase. Then, he throws a bomb tied to Beavis on the wall, but Chase runs and is able to move the bomb. Zan starts turning into a zombie, and Crystal attacks with a chainsaw. Chase throws the bomb at the leader and shakes him off. But then Chase and Crystal enter the checkpoint after the soldiers open it for them because they are heroes. Crystal saves her, and she endures the electronic like the others. At the end, we see the announcer announcing that the country is finally safe because of the electronic chip program. The army man, but the journalist objects and says that the zombie virus is still on the rise and is waiting for the right moment. Chase calls Jordan's mobile phone and writes it to the newspaper machine. When they open it, he sees the video that Jordan filmed and realizes that this is a big conspiracy by the army and decides to discover it. In the last scene, Chase and Crystal were standing sadly and watching the military planes bombing the city. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get more new videos.